I was desperate for a job. Bills were piling up, and I had no other options. That's how I ended up here working the night shift as a caretaker at an abandoned asylum. The place had been shut down for decades, left to rot on the edge of town. My job was simple: make sure no one sneaks in, report anything unusual, and most importantly, follow the rules. There were 4 of them. Rule 1: ignore any voices coming from the padded rooms. Rule 2: if the lights flicker more than 3 times, leave immediately. Rule 3: lock the front doors at exactly midnight and do not open them for anyone. Rule 4: don't go into the basement. The man who hired me didn't explain. He just handed me the keys, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "If you break the rules, you won't make it through the night." That first shift was unsettling. The asylum felt alive. Every hallway seemed to stretch endlessly, and no matter how many doors I passed, I always felt like something was just behind me. Watching, around 11 p.m., I heard them dot voices, soft, desperate, coming from the padded rooms. "Help me," a woman's voice, trembling. "Please, I don't know where I am." My feet froze. The voice was coming from behind a heavy, rusted door with a small slot in the center. A scraping noise, fingernails dragging down the other side. I gripped my flashlight, my breathing shallow. The rules said to ignore it. But what if someone really was inside? A sudden bang made me stumble back. Then, laughter. Not a woman's voice anymore. Something deeper. I ran. By the time I reached the main hall, I heard another sound. A slow, creaking noise at the far end of the hallway, just barely visible in the dim light. A wheelchair rolled forward by itself. I turned away. I didn't want to see what was pushing it. At exactly midnight, I locked the front doors like the rules said. My hands were shaking. I backed away, heart pounding, but something felt off. Then I heard it. The soft click of the lock undoing itself. I stood there, staring at the door as it slowly creaked open. Outside, the dogs started barking. A whole pack of them, snarling, howling like they were seeing something they couldn't understand. Then, a shadow moved beyond the doorway. Tall, thin, motionless. I slammed the door shut and locked it again. But deep down, I knew. If it wanted to come in, the lock wouldn't stop it. That should have been enough. That should have been my last night there. But the next shift, my curiosity got the best of me. I went to the old operating room. They did lobotomies here. The rusted surgical tools still lay on the tables. Chains hung from the ceiling, swaying slightly, though there was no breeze. Then, a sound. Screaming. Not just one voice, dozens. I staggered back, my flashlight flickering. The shadows in the room twisted. Something was in there with me. Dozens of them. I turned and ran, but my feet carried me the wrong way. The basement, I shouldn't have gone down there. The air was suffocating, heavy. The steps groaned under my weight as I descended into the dark. And that's when I saw it. A figure standing completely still at the bottom of the stairs. Its body was unnaturally tall, arms too long, face obscured by the shadows, but I could feel it watching me. I turned to run, but there was a second figure behind me now. I had broken the rule. I had gone into the basement. The lights flickered once, twice, 3 times. I bolted up the stairs, taking them 3 at a time. The moment I burst through the doors, the basement lights went out completely. I never looked back. I quit the next morning. I just left. I don't know who or what is still inside that asylum. But if you ever find yourself working a job like this, and someone hands you a list of rules, follow them. Because if you don't, you might not get a second chance.